In the final desperate hours of the Third Reich, as Allied forces closed in on Berlin, Nazi officers executed one last, sinister mission. Deep beneath European soil, they sealed away billions in stolen gold, priceless artifacts, and blood-soaked treasures behind walls of concrete and stone. For decades, these secrets remained buried, until now. What you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about the end of World War II. Hidden diaries, forgotten testimonies, and shocking revelations have led investigators to the most significant Nazi treasure discovery in modern history. But the truth behind this walled-up cellar holds more than just gold. It holds the key to understanding the Third Reich's most desperate final gambit. If you're ready to uncover history's darkest secrets, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next. March 1945, the Third Reich is collapsing. Soviet artillery pounds Berlin's outskirts, while American and British forces surge across the Rhine. In the chaos of these final weeks, a convoy of unmarked trucks races through the German countryside under cover of darkness. Carrying cargo more precious than human life itself, SS Oberführer Heinrich Müller grips the manifest in his trembling hands as his convoy approaches a nondescript farmhouse in Lower Saxony. The document, stamped with the highest classification seals of the Reich Security Main Office, lists contents that would make emperors weep: 847 gold bars looted from the Bank of France, priceless paintings stolen from Jewish families across Europe, ancient artifacts plundered from museums in Poland and Czechoslovakia, and perhaps most horrifically, gold teeth and jewelry melted down from concentration camp victims. But this isn't just any evacuation. This is Operation Bernhard's final phase, the systematic concealment of Nazi Germany's most damning evidence. Müller's orders, signed personally by Heinrich Himmler, are crystal clear. Ensure the treasures remain hidden until the Reich rises again. Leave no trace. Trust no one. The farmhouse sits innocuously among rolling fields, its cellar transformed into something far more sinister. Local forced laborers, Poles and Russians who would never live to tell their tale, had spent months excavating beneath the structure's foundation, creating a reinforced bunker system that extends nearly 40 feet underground. The walls are 3 feet thick, designed to withstand both time and detection. As dawn approaches, the unloading begins. Box after box disappears into the earth, each crate meticulously catalogued by Müller's aide, SS Untersturmführer Klaus Richter. Richter's personal diary, discovered decades later in a bombed-out Berlin apartment, would become crucial to understanding this operation. "The gold gleams even in candlelight," he wrote. "Each bar represents thousands of lives extinguished. Yet the Oberführer speaks only of the future, of a day when we shall reclaim what belongs to the fatherland." The most chilling part of Richter's account comes next. As the final crates are lowered into the cellar, the forced laborers who built this underground vault are lined up against the farmhouse wall. Their usefulness ended, their silence guaranteed by bullets rather than bribes. Their bodies would join the treasure in its underground tomb. By sunrise on March 28, 1945, the cellar entrance is sealed with reinforced concrete, then carefully concealed beneath a false floor and furniture arranged to look lived in. The farmhouse owner, Herr Wilhelm Becker, a loyal Nazi party member who had volunteered his property, receives new identity papers and enough money to disappear forever. The location becomes just another dot on war-torn Germany's vast rural landscape, indistinguishable from thousands of other abandoned properties. But Müller makes one critical error. In his haste to complete the operation before Allied forces arrive, he fails to destroy all evidence of the location. Hidden in the SS files that would eventually fall into American hands lies a coded reference, package secured at Adlerhorst coordinates 52.1578° N, 491° awaiting spring thaw for final verification. For 78 years, this reference remains buried in classified archives. its significance lost among millions of captured Nazi documents. The farmhouse changes hands multiple times, its new owners completely unaware that beneath their feet lies evidence of humanity's darkest chapter and a fortune that could rewrite the history books. What those new owners don't know is that they're sitting on a time bomb of historical proportions. Because in 2023, a team of researchers armed with new technology and declassified documents would finally crack the code that Heinrich Müller thought he had hidden forever. Dr. Sarah Weber's hands shake as she photographs the yellowed document in the National Archives restricted section. It's February 2023, and after months of painstaking research into Nazi evacuation routes, she's stumbled upon something extraordinary. A series of intercepted SS communications that had been misfiled for over 7 decades. The breakthrough comes from an unlikely source, a routine digitization project of captured German documents. Weber, a historian specializing in Nazi economic crimes, notices an anomaly in the classification system. Several documents bear stamps indicating Action Bernhard Final Phase, but their contents don't match the known Operation Bernhard counterfeiting scheme. Instead, they reference geographical coordinates, construction materials, and something called Package Retrieval Protocol. Working with cryptographer Dr. James Morrison, Weber begins decoding the communications. The Nazi encryption system, thought impenetrable in 1945, yields its secrets to modern computing power. What emerges is a detailed operational plan involving the systematic concealment of cultural assets and financial reserves across multiple locations in Germany, Austria, and occupied territories. The most intriguing document is a partial transmission intercepted by British intelligence on March 29, 1945, just 1 day after the farmhouse operation. The message, sent from SS headquarters in Berlin to an unknown recipient, is fragmentary but chilling. Adlerhorst completion confirmed. Becker protocol initiated. Workers terminated per security requirements. Recommend minimum 25-year waiting period before initiation of recovery operations. But it's Morrison's analysis of soil composition reports hidden within the documents that provides the smoking gun. The papers reference specific geological surveys conducted near the coordinates mentioned in Müller's files, surveys that would only be necessary for deep underground construction in clay-rich soil. Cross-referencing these with wartime Luftwaffe reconnaissance photos reveals something remarkable. Aerial images showing disturbed earth patterns around a farmhouse that matches the coordinates exactly. The farmhouse still exists. Current owner Emma Hoffman inherited the property from her grandmother 3 years earlier. A retired school teacher, she lives alone in the modest structure, completely unaware that her quiet home sits atop what could be Nazi Germany's largest undiscovered treasure cache. When Weber and Morrison first approach her with their research, Hoffman's initial reaction is skeptical disbelief. Every few years, someone comes here with stories about buried Nazi gold, Hoffman tells them over coffee in her kitchen. Treasure hunters with metal detectors have torn up my fields. Officials with search warrants have probed my basement. They find nothing because there's nothing to find. Her voice carries the weariness of someone who has heard these claims too many times. But Weber's evidence is different. Unlike previous treasure hunters relying on folklore and rumor, she presents Hoffman with documented proof, architectural blueprints hidden in the SS files, showing underground construction that matches the farmhouse's foundation layout precisely. More compelling still, soil analysis from samples taken decades ago reveals concrete residue at depths that match the construction specifications in Müller's documents. The turning point comes when Morrison shows Hoffmann a photograph, a personnel file photo of SS Untersturmführer Klaus Richter standing in front of an unmistakable structure. It's her farmhouse, 78 years younger, but unmistakably the same building. In the background, barely visible, construction equipment and workers can be seen near what is now her garden. Hoffman stares at the photograph for a long moment before speaking. "My grandmother always said this house felt heavy," she whispers. "She claimed she could hear sounds from below on quiet nights, metal scraping against stone. We thought she was growing senile." Her hand trembles as she sets down her coffee cup. What if she wasn't imagining things? The decision to allow excavation doesn't come easily. But faced with overwhelming evidence and the weight of historical responsibility, Hoffman agrees to let Weber's team investigate further. What none of them realize is that they're about to uncover not just gold and artifacts, but evidence of war crimes so systematic and brutal that it will force the world to confront uncomfortable truths about how much we still don't know about the Holocaust's final chapters. The ground-penetrating radar equipment arrives on a grey October morning, operated by a team from the German Federal Office for Cultural Property Protection. Dr. Weber watches anxiously as technician Franz Kellner calibrates the sensitive instruments that will peer beneath Emma Hoffman's cellar without disturbing a single stone of her home's foundation. The initial scans reveal what Weber's team had hoped to find and feared to discover. Approximately 15 feet below the cellar floor, the radar detects a large void space, roughly 30 by 40 feet. But more disturbing are the dense metallic signatures scattered throughout the underground chamber, readings consistent with both precious metals and human remains. The density patterns are unlike anything I've seen in 40 years of archaeological surveying, Kellner tells Weber, his voice grave. Whatever's down there, it's been hermetically sealed for decades. The air pockets suggest we're dealing with a preserved environment, which means everything inside remains exactly as it was left in 1945. Legal clearances take weeks to obtain. The discovery falls under jurisdiction of multiple German agencies: the Federal Criminal Police Office due to potential war crimes evidence, the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution because of Nazi-era security implications, and the Commission for the Recovery of Art Objects because of likely stolen cultural property. Each bureaucratic layer adds delays that gnaw at Weber's patience and her growing certainty that they're running out of time. The breakthrough finally comes through Emma Hoffman herself. While reviewing her grandmother's personal effects, she discovers a hidden compartment in an old wardrobe containing documents her grandmother had never mentioned. Among them is a letter dated April 1945, written in her great-uncle Wilhelm Becker's handwriting. "The men came in the night and did terrible things beneath our house. I have accepted money to stay silent, but God forgive me, I cannot forget. The screams from below or the sound of shovels against earth. If you read this, know that evil sleeps beneath our home." Armed with this family testimony, Weber's team receives expedited authorization for limited excavation. The work begins on November 15, 2023, under strict archaeological protocols and heavy security. Media blackout is absolute. Too much is at stake for sensationalized treasure-hunting coverage. The first breakthrough comes literally. Hans Kruger's pneumatic drill penetrates what appears to be the original concrete seal. The moment is captured on camera as a rush of stale, 78-year-old air escapes from the breach. The smell that emerges is indescribable. A mixture of damp concrete, metallic corrosion, and something else, something organic that has been slowly decomposing in an airless environment for nearly 8 decades. Initial fiber-optic camera probes reveal glimpses that leave the entire team speechless. Gold bars stacked like cordwood along the chamber walls, wooden crates bearing Nazi eagles and SS lightning bolt markings, and in one corner, visible through the camera's limited field of view, what appear to be human skeletal remains partially. Covered by rotted fabric, the forced laborers whose silence Miller had ensured with bullets rather than bribes. But the most shocking discovery comes when the camera pans across what appears to be a makeshift desk area. On its surface, preserved by the dry environment, lies an open ledger book. Even through the camera's grainy image, Richter's handwriting is clearly visible on the pages, along with detailed inventory lists and what appear to be personal notes documenting the operation. Dr. Morrison's voice is barely a whisper as he studies the footage. We're not just looking at stolen treasure, we're looking at a crime scene that's been perfectly preserved for 78 years. Everything that happened in this chamber in March 1945, every decision, every murder, every stolen life represented by those gold bars, it's all still there, waiting to tell its story. As night falls over the farmhouse, Weber's team prepares for full excavation. They know that when the sun rises, they'll be entering a tomb that holds more than gold. They'll be stepping into history's darkest chapter, preserved in concrete. And silence, where the true cost of Nazi greed becomes horrifyingly clear. November 18th, 2023, 6:47 a.m. The reinforced concrete finally gives way after 3 days of careful drilling. Dr. Weber is the first to descend into the chamber, her headlamp cutting through darkness that has remained undisturbed for 78 years. What she sees in those first moments will haunt her forever. The chamber stretches exactly as the radar indicated, 40 feet long, 30 feet wide, with an 8-foot ceiling supported by steel beams that show no signs of deterioration. But it's not the impressive engineering that stops Weber in her tracks. It's the meticulous organization of systematic theft and murder that surrounds her. Against the eastern wall, 147 gold bars are stacked in perfect rows, each stamped with markings from banks across occupied Europe. Banque de France, Deutsche Reichsbank, Bank of England reserves captured in Channel Islands, and dozens more. But interspersed among the official monetary gold are smaller bars bearing no official markings, the melted-down dental work and jewelry of Holocaust victims, quantities that suggest the murder of thousands. Klaus Richter's desk sits exactly where the camera first spotted it, and his leather-bound ledger lies open to the final entry, dated March 28th, 1945, operation complete. 847 monetary bars secured, 312 personal effects bars processed, 67 cultural artifacts catalogued. Workers eliminated per protocol 1530 hours. Sealed chamber 1845 hours. May God forgive what we have done in service to the Reich. The cultural artifacts Richter referenced represent a museum of stolen European heritage. Paintings by Monet, Renoir, and Van Gogh hang in custom-built frames along the chamber walls, their colors as vibrant as the day Nazi art thieves ripped them from their rightful owners. Medieval manuscripts in protective cases contain illuminated texts from monasteries across Poland and France. Ancient Greek sculptures, probably looted from museums in occupied territories, stand sentinel over this underground mausoleum of greed. But the most disturbing discoveries lie in the chamber's northwest corner. The skeletal remains of 11 individuals, the forced laborers who built this vault, are arranged in a rough line against the wall where they were executed. Richter's attention to detail extended even to murder. Beside the remains lies a handwritten list of names, ages, and nationalities. Paweł Kowalski, 19, Polish. Dmitry Volkov, 23, Russian. Each name represents a life ended to preserve Nazi secrets. Among the personal effects found with the remains, Dr. Morrison discovers something that transforms this archaeological find into a human tragedy. A small notebook, written in Polish, belongs to Paweł Kowalski. His final entry, dated March 28, 1945, reads, "They promised to send us home when the work is finished." But their eyes tell a different story. If someone finds this, tell my sister Anna in Krakow that I tried to survive. Tell her I thought of our mother's pierogi every day I was here. The systematic nature of the concealment becomes clear as Weber's team catalogues each discovery. This wasn't hurried looting. It was methodical preparation for a Nazi resurgence that never came. Maps hidden in waterproof containers show the locations of at least 12 other similar caches across Germany and Austria. Codebooks provide decryption keys for wartime. communications that could reveal the identities of Nazi collaborators who escaped justice. Most chilling of all is a sealed metal container, marked Final Solution Financial Records. Inside, Weber discovers detailed accounting of the Holocaust's economic dimensions, profit margins from forced labor, valuations of property seized from deported Jews, even cost-benefit analyses of different execution methods. The documents are signed by officials whose names appear on post-war denazification clearance certificates, men who claimed ignorance while rebuilding their careers in democratic Germany. As Weber photographs each horrific document, she realizes they've uncovered more than treasure. They've found evidence that could rewrite the historical record of Nazi war, crimes, and identify perpetrators who lived comfortable post-war lives while their victims' families never learned the truth about their fate. The chamber holds one final secret, discovered only when Morrison notices an inconsistency in the wall construction. Behind a removable stone panel, Richter hid his personal insurance policy, a detailed confession describing the operation, naming his superiors, and revealing his own moral torment. The stone panel slides away easily, as if Richter designed it to be discovered someday. Behind it, wrapped in oiled leather that has preserved it perfectly, lies Klaus Richter's final testament, a document that will shatter assumptions about Nazi operations and individual complicity in history's greatest crimes. Dr. Weber's hands tremble as she photographs each page of the confession. Written in meticulous German script, it begins, "To whoever finds this record, I am SS Untersturmführer Klaus Richter, and I am a coward. I have participated in crimes against humanity while telling myself I had no choice. This document is my attempt to ensure the truth survives, even if my courage does not." The confession reveals that the farmhouse operation was part of a vast network called Project Lazarus, a plan to preserve Nazi leadership and resources for a future Reich. Heinrich Himmler personally oversaw 12 similar sites across German territory, each containing not just treasure, but detailed records of war crimes, lists of collaborators, and evidence that would implicate thousands of Nazi officials who survived the war. But Richter's most explosive revelation concerns the gold itself. Through his position in the SS Economic and Administrative Main Office, he had access to transportation records that reveal the true scale of Holocaust profiteering. The gold bars in the chamber represent only a fraction of the wealth extracted from concentration camp victims. Dental fillings, wedding rings, gold teeth pried from corpses. Richter's calculations suggest that nearly 4,000 kilograms of personal effects gold were processed through SS channels, representing the murder of approximately 400,000 individuals. Each bar weighs exactly 1 kilogram, Richter writes. "I know because I supervised the melting process at Dachau. We told ourselves we were serving the war effort, but we were profiting from genocide. The furnaces that burned bodies also melted their possessions." Gold teeth were sorted by enlisted men who wept at their duty, but followed orders nonetheless. The confession details the psychological toll of systematic murder on its perpetrators. Richter describes recurring nightmares, his inability to eat gold-colored food, and his growing certainty that Germany was fighting not just a losing war, but a morally damned one. Yet he continued following orders, continued documenting atrocities, continued believing that loyalty to the SS was more important than loyalty to humanity. Most damaging to post-war German society, Richter names names. His confession includes a detailed list of 347 individuals who participated in Project Lazarus, from high-ranking SS officers to local administrators who provided false documentation. Many of these names appear in post-war records as reform citizens, business leaders, and even government officials in the Federal Republic of Germany. Richter's document proves their denazification testimonies were lies. The confession also reveals the existence of a master map showing all 12 Project Lazarus sites. Richter describes hiding this map in a specific location, a bombed church in Berlin, where he planned to retrieve it after the war. If the map still exists, it could lead to discoveries that dwarf even the farmhouse find. But perhaps the most human moment in Richter's confession comes in his description of the executions. Oberfuhrer Müller ordered me to shoot the Polish boy Kowalski to prove my commitment to operational security. I aimed for his heart, but my hands shook so badly that the bullet struck his shoulder. He fell but did not die immediately. As I approached to finish him, he looked at me with eyes that held no hatred, only sadness, as if he pitied me for what I had become. I've never forgotten those eyes. They visit me every night in dreams. The confession ends with coordinates and a cryptic message. If you have found this chamber, others remain hidden. The truth cannot be buried forever, only delayed. Look for the eagle that faces north in the City of Music. There you will find the map that reveals all our sins. As Weber finishes photographing the final page, she realizes they have uncovered evidence that could reshape the understanding of Nazi war crimes and their post-war cover-up. The farmhouse was just the beginning. 6 months after the chamber's discovery, the world has changed. The revelations from Emma Hoffman's farmhouse have triggered the largest Nazi war crimes investigation since Nuremberg, exposing a network of complicity and cover-up that reached into the highest levels of post-war German society. The Richter papers, as historians now call the confession, have already led to the discovery of 3 additional Project Lazarus sites. In Austria, beneath a monastery that claimed ignorance of wartime activities, investigators found 23 crates of stolen art and documentation, proving the monastery's active collaboration with SS art theft operations. In Bavaria, ground-penetrating radar located a sealed bunker containing the personal files of 12,000 Nazi officials, who successfully obtained new identities after the war. But the most significant breakthrough came from Richter's cryptic final clue. The eagle that faces north in the City of Music led Dr. Weber's expanded team to Vienna's Stephansdom Cathedral, where restoration workers discovered a hidden compartment containing Richter's master map. The document, authenticated by 3 independent laboratories, reveals the locations of 9 remaining Project Lazarus sites across Europe, along with detailed inventories of their contents. The human cost of these discoveries extends far beyond historical revisionism. Emma Hoffman has become an unlikely advocate for Holocaust remembrance, transforming her farmhouse into a memorial site. I lived above this chamber for 3 years, she tells visitors, sleeping peacefully while the bones of murdered workers lay 15 feet below my bedroom. We cannot claim ignorance anymore. Evil was hidden in plain sight, in ordinary places, protected by our willingness to not look too closely. The gold found in the chamber, now valued at over $47 million, has been placed in trust for Holocaust survivors and their families. But the monetary value pales compared to the historical significance. The 67 cultural artifacts recovered include paintings thought destroyed during the war, manuscripts that close gaps in European cultural history, and sculptures that museums had mourned as lost forever. Each piece carries documentation showing its theft from specific families, enabling restitution efforts that reunite cultural heritage with its rightful owners. Perhaps most importantly, the Richter papers have identified 127 living individuals whose parents or grandparents were named as Project Lazarus collaborators. These revelations have shattered family myths and forced a new reckoning with inherited guilt. Hans Brenner, whose grandfather was identified as a site administrator, discovered that his family's successful post-war construction business was built on Nazi gold. My grandfather always said he earned his startup capital through wartime contracts, Brenner reveals. Now I know those contracts were death sentences for forced laborers. Every building my family constructed stands on a foundation of murder. The investigation has also revealed the systematic nature of post-war cover-ups. U.S. Army Counterintelligence Corps files, declassified in response to the farmhouse discovery, show that American authorities knew about Project Lazarus sites as early as 1947, but chose not to investigate fully due to Cold War priorities. Former CIA operative Robert Sterling, now 89, breaks decades of silence. We needed German intelligence assets against the Soviets. Pursuing every Nazi war criminal wasn't the priority. We made deals with devils because we thought we needed them to fight a bigger devil. The most emotionally powerful discoveries have been personal artifacts that survived in the chamber's preserved environment. Letters from Holocaust victims found among the processed gold are being returned to families who never knew their loved ones' final words. Miriam Goldstein, whose grandmother's wedding ring was identified among the melted gold, holds the restored jewelry with tears in her eyes. For 78 years, I thought the Nazis had erased every trace of grandmother Sarah. Finding her ring means finding her again. The discoveries have forced uncomfortable questions about how many other secrets remain buried. If Project Lazarus existed, what other Nazi preservation schemes succeeded? How many war criminals lived comfortable post-war lives while their victims' families searched for answers that lay hidden beneath European soil? Dr. Weber, now leading an international task force investigating Nazi concealment operations, reflects on the magnitude of their discovery. We found more than gold in that chamber. We found proof that evil is patient, methodical, and confident in its ability to outlast justice. But we also proved that truth is more patient still. 78 years later, the silence was finally broken. The investigation continues. Ground-penetrating radar teams are surveying hundreds of sites across Europe, guided by clues from the Richter papers. Each potential discovery carries the weight of history and the hope of closure for families whose questions have haunted them for generations. As sunset approaches over Emma Hoffman's farmhouse, visitors to the memorial site observe a moment of silence for the 11 workers whose remains were found in the chamber. Their names, finally known, finally mourned, are carved in stone above the entrance to the preserved vault. Pavel Kowalski's sister Anna, now 94 and living in Krakow, made the journey to see where her brother died. Standing at his memorial marker, she whispers in Polish, "I always knew you tried to survive." Now the world knows too. The mystery of the walled-up Nazi gold cellar has been solved, but its implications continue reverberating through history. In revealing the depths of Nazi evil, the discovery also illuminated the power of truth to survive any attempt at concealment. The chamber that Heinrich Müller thought would preserve Nazi secrets forever, instead became their final exposure, proof that justice, like truth, cannot be buried permanently. The investigation will continue for years to come. Each discovery a reminder that the past is never truly past. As long as secrets remain hidden, the search for truth continues. And as Emma Hoffman reminds every visitor to her memorial, evil counts on silence and forgetting. We must never be silent. We must never forget. The farmhouse stands as a testament to the power of persistence, the importance of memory, and the unbreakable human drive to uncover truth. No matter how deeply it has been buried or how long the silence has lasted. In breaking through those concrete walls, Dr. Weber's team didn't just discover Nazi gold. They recovered justice itself, preserved in darkness, but finally brought into the light. If this story has moved you to learn more about Nazi war crimes and their lasting impact, please subscribe to our channel and share this documentary with others. History's lessons must never be forgotten, and its victims must never be silenced. Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts on how we can ensure these discoveries lead to greater understanding and remembrance. Together, we can make sure that truth, no matter how long buried, will always find a way to the surface.